Hi friends. Sometimes trust is broken and can never be repaired. What do you do when a child steals from you and then denies wrongdoing, blaming you for their crimes? This case required 2 trials to determine the full extent of the theft and fraud. Let me share the details because elder abuse matters. This case comes from an email sent by the abuser's brother. My brother Guy and his wife France are evil. They've ruined our family and ruined my dad's future, and he's only 71. If he hadn't been hospitalized 2 years ago, we would likely never have discovered the deceit they perpetrated. Dad had suffered a collapsed lung at that time and asked me to check his bank balance. I went to the bank and the balance was only $486. When I told Dad, he said, "I can't believe it. They stole from me." This began the long journey to determine what was taken and how to deal with the financial abuse. It all began 6 years ago when, following the death of my mother, Dad asked Guy and France to move in with him to assist with the house chores. He knew that they were financially strained, and if they lived in his basement, it would be easier for them to get by. 4 years ago, Dad decided to sell them his home for $1, and he would continue to live on the main floor, and they would stay in the basement, helping him with various tasks when needed, including sometimes picking up medications, grocery, and doing banking. There was no formal agreement, and they were not POAs for him, but he did let them use his debit card to make these purchases. He never dreamt that they'd take all of his money. Initially, I helped Dad file a small claims court action against them to get his money back. When investigating Dad's bank records for this case, we determined that they had store purchases and withdrawals for nearly $25,000 over a few years to pay their own bills and buy stuff they wanted, like video game systems, personal groceries, and even marijuana. Even when Dad was in hospital, they bought groceries on his debit card. It was sickening how freely they spent Dad's money. At the small claims court hearing, Dad had to testify that he never authorized them to use his funds for their personal items. Guy denied any wrongdoing and claimed that the withdrawals were used to reimburse he and his wife for expenses of his father that they had personally paid for, but he had no receipts to prove this. Instead, he blamed me for putting bad ideas in Dad's head, and he blamed Dad for not keeping track of his accounts. I testified that Guy and France had previously mentioned to me that they had heavy debts to pay, as they had taken a loan out to upgrade the basement and build a garage, and they were using Dad's money to subsidize their payments. The judge agreed with Dad, saying Guy's statements were inconsistent and didn't make sense. He awarded Dad $25,000 plus another $7,000 in damages and interest on the money taken from his account. While this was good news to Dad, Dad was furious that Guy denied fault and had blamed Dad for this whole situation. He wasn't done with them yet. Dad called the local police. This really upset my sister, who thought that Dad didn't need to send them to jail, and she barely speaks to us now. The officers investigated much further than Dad and I had investigated, and last year they charged Guy and France with theft over $5,000, and France was also charged with obtaining credit by a false pretense. And despite previously denying allegations against them in small claims court, They both pleaded guilty to the theft over $5,000 charges, which also meant that Dad didn't have to testify in court again, much to his relief. At their sentencing last month, the extent of their theft was fully revealed. While the total amount taken was difficult to tabulate, at a minimum, they took over $4,000 from Dad's main checking account for themselves, and another $4,500 was removed from his savings account, and it was determined that there was an active line of credit in Dad's name that he was paying $250 per month for on his checking account. The line of credit had a $15,000 limit, but it was overdrawn an extra $6,000. Apparently, Guy and France had opened the line of credit under Dad's name to buy a truck. All the extra line of credit expenses added up to over $7,000. Both Guy and France were sentenced to 9-month terms of house arrest, followed by 12 months supervised probation. The charge against France for obtaining credit under false pretenses was dropped when they both agreed to plead guilty to the theft charges. The judge said he thought that my brother and sister-in-law should consider themselves fortunate for the light sentencing they received, but they should know that they are unfortunate because a person put their trust in them and they completely breached that, and they will never ever have that trust again, and forever they must live with that. Reporting this theft and fraud to police was extremely hard on Dad due to the consequences that resulted. He now lives in a shared room in a retirement facility, so he misses being in his own home, while Guy and France got to remain there. He also misses the big family gatherings we used to enjoy, and he misses the trust he used to have in others. His former life was stolen from him, along with his money. Well, friends, another elder abuse case that ruined a family's relationships. How difficult it must be for the father to face his senior years knowing that Guy and France took complete advantage of his trust in them and ruined his family. While the courts doled out their sentences on the son and daughter-in-law, what do you think should have happened? Should there have been jail time given to them? Should they have been allowed to keep Dad's house while he now lives in a shared room in a retirement home? Please let us know in the comments section below. And let's hope that adult children stop abusing their senior parents' trust, because elder abuse matters. Friends, our goal here is to share abuse cases so that you'll know you are not alone if you are suffering from elder abuse. While we are not therapists, we hope that it's therapeutic to hear other stories. It may be helpful for you to anonymously share your own story of abuse on this channel and help others. So just check the show notes below to find out how. And finally, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up or share and subscribe now to grow the channel so that together we can reduce the abuse, because elder abuse matters. Please stay safe, seek help, and know that I am praying for you.